As we sit here, what's your biggest fear?
I don't see it. I don't see any fear. I'm so excited about everything, really. What could we ask for more? We are in Serie A. We are in a beautiful place in Como. Fears nothing. It's the opposite. It's a dream what we're living, and we just need to take care of it and keep working very hard.
It's a joy to welcome a gent who burst through as a player, as a mulleted 16-year-old for Arsène Wenger's Arsenal back in 2003, demonstrated a preternatural ability to unfurl wizard filth and decision-making as mature as veterans twice his age. He was a cultivated, classy, creative midfielder throughout his career. Shone then with his hometown youth club, Barcelona, back to the Premier League with Chelsea, stopped at Monaco and then retired at the remarkable Como. And now he's emerging as a young manager in his own right. It's a joy to welcome World Cup winner, Euro winner twice, La Liga winner, Premier League winner, and now manager of Como 1907. It's Cesc Fàbregas.
Hello, Rog.
Cesc, it is a joy to be with you. We're a week into this season. Como are back. You're a manager in the top flight for the first time. Can you describe your mood before we dive in?
My mood is always trying to be positive, working very hard, trying to make a competitive team. It will be a very difficult season ahead, and we need to be ready for everything.
Let's start at the beginning, or at least at the beginning of the Cesc Fàbregas manager story, because it's connected to the end of the Cesc Fàbregas player story. You arrived at Como, 35-year-old, coming in from AS Monaco in 2022. And when the offer came in from Como, you said, quote, you grabbed it with two hands. Can you talk about what it was about this place, this team, its unique character in the football world that made you decide that this was going to be the right place for you to move and end your playing career?
Every time you take a decision in life, there's always a slight risk. But since I joined the club, everything has been fantastic. We are growing month by month, week by week, in a way that I didn't expect at the beginning, to be fair. Now we're growing a little bit too fast, in my opinion, as well, because nobody expected us to be in Serie A this year. I think it was more for next year, the step that we wanted to take. But it is what it is. We take it with both hands. We are all very happy, excited, and the project is looking good.
We'll talk about the football project in 1 second, but it's impossible to talk about Como, the football team, without talking about Como, the place, because it's as gorgeous as a city to live in as there is on this planet of ours. It's historic, it's picturesque, it's a lake town just north of Milan. James Bond and Star Wars were both filmed there. Lionel Messi recently bought a villa on the lake. It's often filled with chestnut wood boats fishing for redfin perch. Can you describe what life is all about in Como, Cesc? How would you describe it to someone who's not been there before?
Well, it's a beautiful place. It's a small town, city, full of grace, full of life, a good energy, great people. It's just something unique, in a way. You have Switzerland around the corner, you have Milan, you have a beautiful lake, you have mountains. It's a very safe and a very healthy place to be.
You've got Switzerland around the corner, you've got Milan down the road, and you've got Como, the football club, in the heart of the town. And as you mentioned, the ascent of the club has been dizzying. Before you arrived, 2019, ownership transferred. An Indonesian family, the Jarum Group, took over. They had a vision of turning Como into, quote, the ultimate soccer tourism destination. And you've breathed real life into this. They put an infrastructure in place, into the club, into the brand, but it all depended upon success on the field. And you've been so key to that. Last season, few months after you retired as a player, you began managing the Como youth team while working on your coaching badges. That was the plan. And I'm fascinated by that decision for you to become a coach. Thierry Henry, your fellow co-owner at Como now, but once a telepathic footballing twin on the field with you at Arsenal, he said he wasn't surprised by your move into management. He said Cesc, as a player, forgot to be dumb. He doesn't have that in his DNA. I played with him and he thinks. So I was always knew he was going to stay in the game. From the very beginning, did you think, yes, I'm going to move seamlessly into management, Cesc?
Not from the beginning, I have to be very honest. I started very young. Basically, I didn't even finish my school grades when I started playing professionally. So my life, or let's say my working life as a football player, started when I was super young. So I never really had time to think about anything. Playing every 3 days, if you get injured, recover in the summer, playing World Cups, European Championships. So at the end, always having 2-3 weeks holidays only. So you never really have time to process and to understand what you want to do. I'll be honest, sometimes you feel unstoppable in the sense that it will never end until one day you wake up and you start to realize that, okay, hold on a second, maybe it's going to end. So I took the moment to start reflecting a little bit on what I wanted to do next when COVID hit. I don't know if you remember, but in France, the league stopped completely from the very beginning. We were the only league in Europe that stopped, and we were 4 months at home. I started to talk to a lot of people. I started to take my coaching license, the big one, and which is the first one, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. I just couldn't stop learning and studying and analyzing things, and I just felt it was right for me. I fell in love. At the end, I have to say, I just couldn't wait to retire to get started, which is something that if you asked me 3 years before, I would have said that you're crazy. I know that I took the right decision because I don't miss football. I don't miss playing football. And these are big words for me to say.
I want to talk more about that because it is big words for you to say. And this transition is not an easy one. You made it seem effortless, but I do want to complete the narrative for a moment about where you got to, because life does work in remarkable ways, Cesc, and your managerial ascent probably moved a little bit quicker than you even ever imagined. Como's first team had a challenging start to the season in Serie B, and just before the January transfer window, they decided to lift you up and appoint you interim manager. It became a little more complicated than that, as we'll discuss. But what were those early months like, going from player to youth coach, to full-on manager of a professional football club? How did you wrap your head around the sudden seismic shift in responsibility and identity?
Well, as I said, since 2019, I was creating my methodology, my ideas, putting them all together, growing tactically, analyzing a lot of games. What would you do against this structure? How would you play against this? Always challenging yourself. So I felt ready. Yes, I was focused obviously on the football and I wanted to play and to keep enjoying. But when I was getting back home, it was all about basically more coaching than thinking about the game as me playing. I felt ready. I was not enjoying football anymore. And I always said to myself that the day I wake up and instead of go to training with a smile and motivated and happy about it, it was a bit of an effort. I always said that I would stop playing. So I just couldn't wait, to finish and starting what I felt it was my passion, which was to be coaching.
Can we talk about that process as you started to think from 2019 about Cesc, the manager, and you are blessed because you have played under some of the most successful managers during your 20-year playing career. Giant human beings, many of whom have shifted the way we think about the game itself. Obviously, your own managerial career will be distinctly Cesc, but I am fascinated what you've learned along the way from your past influences. I'm going to run down the list of some of the giants very quickly, starting obviously with the granddaddy of them all, Arsène Wenger, that rail-thin Frenchman who gave you your debut at Arsenal, aged 16 years and 177 days. What did you learn from him?
Well, he's the professor. He's like my second dad. The way he took me under his wing and protected me, made me grow. I played bad games and he still believed in me and kept me on and working on me individually. Gave me a lot of responsibilities at a very, very young age. I met a lot of players that are so good and they never made it. Sometimes you need that person to trust you, to believe in you, to give you the opportunities. You do bad and he gives it again and he gives it again. And I found Arsène with me that he was amazing. I mean, I don't see my career the way it went without thinking of Arsène.
Pep Guardiola, your manager for one season back at Barcelona where you'd come through in the youth system?
He was my idol when I was little. I was wearing number 4 at the Academy of Barcelona because of him. We were playing in the same position. He was Catalan, coming from La Masia as well. So yeah, he was a reference for me.
José Mourinho, very different character to the first two, but a gent with whom you won the title at Chelsea.
Fantastic how he plays with the player's mind. He's fantastic from this point of view. He understands the player. He knows what it takes to win. He's a proper winner. And I had one of the best years of my career under him.
Antonio Conte, who you played with, I think, the most of all your managers other than Wenger, won the Premier League and the FA Cup.
Yeah, I mean, Antonio, he's a hard coach in terms of he always demands the best of your abilities in every single training. He's a proper winner as well, great character. And I learned a lot from him. I have to say it was tough at the beginning to play under him because he's another concept of what I lived during all my career. But he made me grow. He made me think about football in another way, which is his way. And that shows that sometimes, it's not only one way of winning. And he put different thoughts into my mind.
Can I ask you, Cesc, of the managers you've had, as you've transitioned into management, which have you spoken to the most to shape your own vision?
Yeah, probably Arsène, because I've met with him a couple of times. I saw Mourinho at the airport. We crossed paths, but it was only a 5-minute chat. With Antonio, we exchanged a few messages. So, yeah, but the most probably is Arsène.
God, one more question about the challenge of management. Anyone that saw you play, Cesc, knows that you were the kind of player creatively who made the transcendent look easy. And not every player can do what you did. Sublime passes, vision, that wizard filth magic. Sometimes the truly exceptional players struggle to communicate how to do tactically what came so naturally to them when they were the players. When you're coaching just merely good players as they're coaching to truly great ones, how do you tell players what you want for them? How do you break down what looked like it came so effortlessly to you?
By talking, by trying to convince it the right way, by showing videos. We also have now in the staff an individual coach. He analyzes the performances. He speaks to me. What can he improve? What do I want the player to improve? And he manages this a little bit because I don't have time. I wish I could have time, in terms of individual coaching like every day, but I have to manage a lot of things at the moment here at the club and I don't really have time. I do a little bit more globally and collectively as a team. But yes, there are some moments, especially in individual talks, individual moments, little details that I like to bring to the table to the players. And working with young players, I have to say, is more satisfying than what I expected. They are like sponges. They learn, they want to do well. Yes, it takes a bit more time. It's a bit more challenging, but it's fantastic.
So you're not just like, hey, just play a 70-yard diagonal pass right to the foot of the incoming winger.
No, you need to also coach the moments, the timings, the whys. If that's what you mean, 100%. You need to make them understand the game of why we do things. This is my job. This is what I love the most. Because as I said, some players will be better at something. Others will be better at other stuff. But for me, to make them understand the why we do this or why we do that, or why don't you try this that maybe it helps you, where does the pressure come from, how is your positioning of your body when you're receiving the ball. So all of these things, they connect after to the game. But even myself, when I was a player, I didn't ask these questions to myself. It was Arsène, it was the Academy of Barcelona, it was maybe also a talent that I had, I don't know, but I always felt that I was growing year by year, and I had great coaches at the academies that slowly, they were putting things into my brain to challenge me and to make me grow as a player.
Back to Como, and we should acknowledge, because you were working on your coaching badges, Italian regulations mean the club had to bring in someone who did have a UEFA coaching licence to coach alongside you. And they brought in the Welsh Prince, Ocean Roberts, and you coached alongside him last season. And together, well, we know how the story ends in promotion. But before the season began, one of the owners of Como, Mirwan, said the club had odds of going up at just 12%. So when in that season did you start to think about just the crevice of a shot at promotion? Does that realisation, does it happen suddenly or slowly game to game? Can you remember a moment when the P word started to feel like a possibility for you, Cesc?
No, listen, it's difficult for me to talk about this because I don't want to sound whatever. But day one, when I did the first meeting with the team on my first day in charge, I said our objective is to be number one. What I found, it was a good team that was not ready to compete mentally and that they didn't have the ambition to go into Serie A. That was my feeling. Nobody really believed. Everyone was just happy to maybe make playoffs. I just tried to change the mentality of everybody by telling from day one that our objective was to go number one. And this is something that I think we accomplished 100%, because since that 25th of December until the 10th or 11th of May, where we got promoted, we were the best team. We were 4 points on top of Parma, 6 points on top of Cremonese. This shows that we did a good job and that the players believed from the first moment. But yes, the chances were low, very low, I would say. But this shows you as well that with a strong mentality and believing, things can happen.
There have been some remarkable characters alongside of you on this journey, especially Patrick Cutrone, Como born and bred, 26-year-old former Milan Wolves striker, an Italian international, who said he would have only dropped down into Serie B for Como because he wanted a career reset back in his hometown. Last year he had 14 goals, 4 assists. Can you describe Patrick, what he brings, what it was like having a player of his quality come with you on this Serie B campaign, almost like having a dragon in Westeros?
No, Patrick is a very good player. He's hungry. You can see he has passion for the club, for the city. The fans love him. He did really well, especially in the last part of the season last year. He helped us a lot. And he needs to be getting better and better. Now he's one of the captains as well. So his role is growing into the team. He's only 26. Sometimes we forget. He's been playing for a long time, and he was at AC Milan, and he was at Wolves, at Valencia, Fiorentina, etc., etc. So he decided to do a little step back in his career, go to Como. And I remember having a conversation with him in Marbella when we went there in January. I said, you need to be the guy that helps this team to go up. And he took it by the scruff of the neck, and he did it really, really well. He believed, he had really, really great character and passion for what we were doing.
Against all odds, or at least against 88% probability, Como were promoted. I think it was a 1-1 draw with Cosenza, sealing second place in Serie B, automatic promotion. In the locker room, you celebrated, you promised all of the players a trip to Ibiza.
E como te he promesso che te pagava lo che vuoi vuole, se volete andare in Ibiza,
in that video, you say, quote, "This year's nothing. This is only the warm-up." And you went on to channel your inner Joel Embiid. You said, quote, "Respect the process." So ahead of your first season back in Serie A, in 2 decades, how long did you give yourself to celebrate before the real work began? Can you talk about the process in which you pivoted from celebration to preparation and spent this summer transforming this team from a force at the second level to one that's really Serie A ready?
Well, I mean, it's tough because I'm not going to say that nobody really believed at the club, because that could be unfair, but very, very little people believed that we would be in Serie A this year. So the objective changed 100%. The transfer market changes. The budget needs to change as well. And there are many different things that we need to analyze. And you can see straight away, the first game we played against Juventus, that the level is completely different of what we found last year. And we need to, be ready for all the challenges that we will face. You said something very interesting, respect the process. I think this is very, very, very important. We know who we are. We are a humble club that just got promoted, and we want to do things the right way. And this is by working hard, have humility, have the feet on the ground, and believe in what we are doing. I don't care if now we lose one game and everyone expects us to be this or that. I know very, very well where we are and what we want to do and how we want to do it. So this is the most important part, and respecting the project, especially internally, because we know outside the journalists, if you lose one game, they will say this, they will say that, but I don't care. I know very, very well what we have to do, how we have to do it, and slowly take the right steps.
Como have been quite active in the transfer market. You announced Maximo Perrone, the young Argentine defensive midfielder in from Manchester City. Sergio Roberto, versatile Barcelona veteran. They joined Nico Paz, 19-year-old effervescent talent from Real Madrid. In a summer full of additions, you've already brought in experience like Spain goalkeeper Pepe Reina. Can you talk about what it takes to refashion a squad? Winning in Serie B is one thing. As you've said, whole new world you're in. Personnel-wise, mentality, experience. How do you approach creating a squad that has a blend that's really ready for what awaits you?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit creating that competitive mix. Yes, Pepe will help us a lot. Of course, he's the oldest player. He's 42 years old, and we know what he can bring. But he's a competitive animal, and this is what I want to show them as well. You know that he plays, he doesn't play, he doesn't miss a training session. He competes even at 42. He's hungry, and this is very important for me to keep growing as a club. You know, the culture of the work here, the training ground. You know, and to bring players like this, that they are World Cup winners, that they did everything in their career, and the young players, they can see, wow, this is the level that we need to get to, you know, to have a 20-year career. It's very, very important for me. And then you have Alberto Moreno, the mentioned Sergio Roberto, Belotti, who's 31 years old. But apart from these four players, the rest, Ali Chassim, 20 years old, Braunoder, 22 years old, Acuna, 23, Engelhardt, 23, Sala, 24, Nico Paz, 19, Perrone, 21. These are the young players, a lot of young players. You know, Cutrone only 26. People forget that we are going to work, Fadera, 23 years old, with a lot of young players. But we also need that experience. It's a very difficult season in terms of, mental and quality. So, you know, to have these 4 or 5 older players who can bring the experience and who can bring or teach the younger to see what it takes, you know, to succeed, it's very important.
This is your first season as manager, Cesc. As we sit here, what's your biggest fear?
I don't see it. I don't see any fear. I'm so excited about everything, really. What could we ask for more? You know, we are in Serie A. We are trying to make a good team. We're working on what we love. We are playing against Juventus on the first game after 21 years. Good players are coming. The staff is growing. The club is growing. The owners are happy. We are in a beautiful place in Como. I have a beautiful family who I don't see very often, I have to say. But beautiful kids, healthy. Fears, nothing. Is the opposite. It's a dream what we're living, and we just need to take care of it and keep working very hard.
Amen. You did mention the opener against Juventus. What an unforgiving opening day opponent. But a reminder that Como are going to be playing powerhouse traditional clubs this season. Your Inters, your Milans, and your Juves, legendary clubs that have won more Scudettos than I can count, and Champions Leagues. You'll be playing the aspirational Atalantas, Bolognas, Genoas. What does this club need to survive? Can you scale up the size of the challenge ahead? Can you put into words what it will require for Como this season?
What it will require, win games. It's always the same. I don't look at it in the long term. I look at it at game by game. Every game is 3 points. You win against Juventus, you still need to win against Cagliari. You lose against Juventus, you still need to win against Cagliari. And then the next one will be Udinese. And we live in a world that even if we won 3-0 against Juventus, after taking a glass of water or maybe a beer with the staff, after 5 minutes I'm already thinking about the next game. So win or lose for me doesn't change much. It's always about growing, identifying where we can get better, where we're not doing very well as a team, and choose the best possible players, you know, to win games.
You've led this team for a year now, Cesc. As you approach this season ahead, what's been the biggest lesson you've learned from the past 12 months about management that surprised you, that you're going to lean on for all that is to come?
That words can convince players and a group of people to achieve things that they looked impossible. For me, the most important is to convince my players that everything is possible, that we can play against any team and try to do well and compete well. This is the minimum that we can ask for. And yes, there will be challenges. Yes, there will be rocks in the road. But if we are together, if we become the family that we are along the way, every single moment, every single step, we will be fine. I have no worries about that.
This upcoming campaign, first 3 games will be away from home. Como Stadium is what really sold me on the club. Anyone listening should just look it up. It is stunning, and hugely influential Italian journalist Gianni Brera called your home the Stadio Giuseppe Sinigallia, the most beautiful stadium in the world. But it's also old, built in 1927. It's currently being refurbished, ready for action in September when it's fully gussied up. It does look like a jewel box on that glistening lake. Can you describe it to listeners, Cesc? What will it be like to show up for work on that first day in that historic stadium and the emotions you get just thinking about it?
Again, I don't think about it, so I'm sorry to your question, but I think about Cagliari. We want to win. I didn't really have time to think about this. So believe me, our world in this moment is day to day, win, get better, work hard, and you don't have space even to think about what's happening in 2 days.
God bless. I love your worldview. Cesc, we have a unique chance to follow your team, your town, your club on this season-long journey. Can you just tell the listeners, following Como week on week, what have they got in store for them? What do you promise them?
No, I don't promise anything. I mean, the promises, sometimes I give a promise to my kids and I regret it after 5 minutes. I don't promise anything. All I can say is that we will work very hard, that we'll try to compete for every game, for every 3 points, that we'll try to be an exciting team. We have very clear ideas of how we want to play, what we want to do. I think for some parts of the Juventus game, especially the first 30 minutes, everyone could see what we are about. But now we need the consistency and to get into a higher level. So promises, not, but I can guarantee that we will work very, very hard.
Cesc, to you, your team, your family, your town, and all that is to come. Buona fortuna.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Courage.